The first quote is by James Lovelock. We rushed into renewable energy without any thought. The schemes are largely hopeless and inefficient and unpleasant. I personally can't stand windmills at any price. The second quote is James Buchan. A century ago, petroleum, what we call oil, was just an obscure commodity. Today, it's almost as vital to human existence as water.
In James Lovelock's quote, he voices his distaste for renewable energy. He says the schemes are largely unpleasant, although the long-term environmental effects of other sources of energy, such as petroleum and natural gas and oil and everything like that, are probably just as unpleasant. The negative immediate effect on our economy of moving away from those sources, though, might outweigh the positive effects on our environment from a renewable energy standpoint. And in James Buchan's quote, he describes our need for oil. This just shows our extreme dependence on oil, economically and otherwise, and why we can't completely change our current energy model, at least not all at once. It could, however, be seen as a call to action to start gradually decreasing our dependence on oil. So sometime in the future we could have a more dependable and safer energy source for our economy.
In the beginning, no one liked it, and it was a big change for everyone, but now we rely on it so much that we cannot live without it.
We always hear about jobs leaving America. Here's a chance to create jobs in America. Oil sands projects like Kearl and the Keystone Pipeline will provide secure and reliable energy to the United States. Over the coming years, projects like these could create more than 500,000 jobs in the U.S. alone, from the Canadian border through the Midwest to the Gulf Coast, benefiting hundreds of thousands of families throughout the country. This is just what our economy needs right now.
Renewable energy resources are being developed because we are running out of fossil fuels at an exponential rate. The wind is produced as a result of giant convection currents in the Earth's atmosphere, which are driven by the heat from the sun. Wind turbines use the wind to drive turbines directly. The blades are connected to a housing which contains gears linked to a generator. As the wind blows, it transfers some of its kinetic energy to the blades, which turn and drive the generator. The advantages are that there are no fuel costs and no harmful pollutant gases are produced. However, they do depend on wind. If there is no wind, there is no electricity. Like the wind, water can be used to drive turbines directly. Wave machines use the kinetic energy of moving water to drive turbines, which then drive electric generators. Another way of using water is to build a tidal barrage over a river estuary to make use of the kinetic energy in the moving water. The barrage contains electricity generators, which are driven by the water rushing through the tubes in the structure. Hydroelectric power stations are dams built across a river valley. The water high up behind the dam contains gravitational potential energy. This is transferred to kinetic energy as the water rushes down through tubes inside the dam. Water-produced energy is good because no harmful pollutant gases are produced, and tidal barrages and hydroelectric power stations are very reliable and can be easily switched on. However, tidal barrages destroy the habitat of estuary species, and hydroelectricity dams flood farmland and push people from their homes.
In the first graph, the past has coal higher than natural gas, and the predictions for the future is that natural gas will rise above the coal. And on the second graph, currently coal is at 23% and natural gas is at 24%. Petroleum is at the highest, which is 37%. Renewable energy is at 5%, which is pretty low.
And the graph on the left shows how much energy the world uses through fuel types. It shows how oil and natural gas are both growing in terms of their importance for uses of energy and on our economy, and how renewable energy sources are also steadily increasing. I think maybe this shows how we could start steadily integrating renewables as a more prominent source of energy for our economies, cut down on our oil dependence.
Brittany Swoveland.
I'm Jared Barnhart, and we did our project on the effects of oil on our economy. It has a bigger effect than you might think.
What are your thoughts about petroleum-based products?
Petroleum products are a mainstay of our economy. They make up the majority of energy used in our world, and their importance cannot be understated. However, while we can't completely abandon them because of the effects it would have on our economy, I think we should start moving away from them so in the future we can have a cleaner and more balanced world energy model. Next question.
What about renewable energy? Do you think we will eventually turn to it?
I think renewable energy is a good approach to take. All renewable energy sources are cleaner and more easily available, and they don't have the environmental concerns that drilling for oil has, like oil spills. We could eliminate that concern altogether if we could switch over to renewable energy sources. But in the long run, right now, oil is the most important part of our economy probably, and it supplies most of the energy in our world we get from oil and petroleum-based products. So I think renewable energy is great for the future, but right now it's just not feasible. Next question.
How would moving from petroleum-based energy usage to renewable energy affect the economy?
If we did it all at once, it would be disastrous, like I said before. All over the world, the entire oil industry would just collapse, and that affects more than you would think it would affect. First of all, like the oil companies would be out of business, and those are some of the biggest industries in the world. But that wouldn't even be it. There would be the ripple effect, like all these new workers diluting the job market and everything else, and all of the hotels and everything that when companies send their people overseas to drill for oil that the people stay at, those would all lose so much business. There'd be so many new workers for everything, and who knows how much damage this would cause. However, we could make the transition easier by starting now, starting slowly on using other sources of energy before we were forced to make a complete switch all at once.
Who do you think will be the most affected by this?
The oil-producing countries would be affected first, but then in the long run, every country would be affected. The OPEC countries would be definitely first and probably hit the hardest, but then countries like the United States and Canada and all those places that get most of their energy from those other countries. So in the long run, it would just be awful for everybody involved. Next question.
In the past, coal was higher than gas, and now natural gas is rising above coal. Any thoughts on why?
Coal is a lot more dangerous to access than gas, and especially now at this point with the fact that we've already mined all the coal that was easier to get to, and now we have to go deeper and deeper to get the coal. So, and coal is the way of the past, natural gas is the way of the future. That's just kind of how it is.
Right now, petroleum is the highest energy consumption at 37%. Renewable energy is at 5%. Do you think these numbers will be around the same in the future or change?
I would think that renewable energy would continue to grow. I would hope that it would, because that's a much better way to use energy for our economy and our world in general. But right now, petroleum's not going to go down. Petroleum's going to keep going up, and that's probably a bad thing. But if we can keep renewable energy on its upward trend too, maybe in the future we would have a good solution to our energy crisis at this point. Next question.
And do you think individual nations will try and change their types of energy production?
I think that if they're smart, they will try to, but I mean, they probably won't, just because they're worried about right now, the economic benefits of oil, and if they switched, it would take a huge hit on the economy, and they're just not going to switch it, no matter how much they should. That's it.